Hey there, welcome to my channel where I take you on tours of unique homes and showcase stories of people living alternatively. This week we're visiting Florida to meet a wanderlust family who built a tiny house with the intention of taking it full-time on the road. Greg and Hannah will talk about the challenges of building a home suitable for cross-country travel and show us their solutions for creating a space unique to their family. But before we jump right in and take a tour, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you know every single time we publish a new video.
Hi, I'm Greg.
I'm Hannah, and this is our daughter Taylor and our Welsh Corgi, Ladybell.
Welcome to our tiny house. Well, in 2015, I was a construction worker and I hated it. Kind of wanted out of it, so we decided to start our own business. And I was just like, you know, we have our own business, we're working remotely, and the home was just kind of like a burden to us. So I was like, what if we sold it and traveled the world? We were looking at RVs, we wanted to do this. We just didn't think it was gonna work.
If we designed it ourselves, we would have everything we needed.
We knew we were gonna be driving it around. So we were talking, are we gonna do wood? Are we gonna do like gauge steel? And my dad was like, no, you're not doing wood because it's gonna be too heavy. Yeah. And you're not gonna do light gauge because the screws are literally gonna vibrate out of the holes and things are gonna fall apart. So this is a welded tube steel frame.
So it's literally a fortress. If we're gonna drive this tiny house cross country, he wanted us to be very safe. We could go anywhere and this tiny house would hold up very well.
There was a lot of pride in being able to build this thing myself. It took about 6 months to do the frame. Once the frame was completed, it actually only took about 4 months.
Yeah.
One of the cool things when you're designing your own home is, you know, it's up to you. Like, you write your own rules. And no ideas off the table. And the total build ended up being just shy of $40,000. That was because I did probably 80% of the labor and the work on that. I'd say total cost with materials and labor would probably be just shy of $100,000. We've been living in this house for 3 years, 2 years stationary and 1 year traveling.
When we took our tiny house on wheels traveling, we knew that we wanted to head out west. We knew we wanted to go to Colorado, Montana, Arizona, Utah, Idaho. So big question is, where did we park this tiny house when we traveled cross country?
Almost exclusively, we stayed in either hip camp or state parks. And then here, my mom's been in the current lot that we're staying in right now. So we have water hookup, power. We're here temporarily because the housing market isn't the best right now, but we're looking to buy property. It's a good kind of intermediary point. Welcome to the outside of our tiny house. It is 8 feet wide by 20 feet long and 13 feet high, coming in right about at 11,000 pounds. So for the width and the height, we are really maxing out the legal requirements here in the States. For siding, we actually went with corrugated decking. The reason that we chose to do it first was cost. It only cost us a few $1,000s to shell this thing in. The second is weight. Corrugated decking is really light. And the third is it was really easy for me to leverage my construction experience because I actually have experience with sheet metal and I felt confident that I could cut it in. We only pitched this roof 3/4 inches. That means from one side to the other side, and we've actually had leaks. We chose not to pitch it extreme because I'm actually kind of tall, I'm 6'3", but in hindsight, at least a 12-inch pitch down would really have been a good idea. So when it comes to your HVAC system, you want a lot of room for the air to flow. Putting it in the back of the house where you have more room in front of it is critical. So ultimately, we decided on putting it there. One of my favorite things about this house is actually the sliding glass door. And the reason why we wanted to add this feature was because we wanted the natural light. So for the back end of the house, it's actually a huge window and it really helps bring in the outside, which is something that you really want when you have a small living space. All right, so let's look at the right side of the tiny house. So something to consider here if you're actually thinking about building this yourself is where your hookups are going. And by hookups, I mean your electrical and your water. I put them on the right side of the tiny house. That is actually opposite of what you want to do. They're supposed to go on the left side. And I found that out when I pulled into every single RV park and had to stretch everything underneath the tiny house in order to plug it in. So make sure you put it on the left-hand side. All right, so come with me and we'll go look at the tongue. When figuring out the electrical system, I realized that everything when it comes to power demand involves heat or temperature manipulation. So we chose to go with propane. The stove, the water heater, all of that is propane. These are 25-pound propane tanks and they last about 3 to 4 months each. We also have a backup generator here that powers the entire tiny house, including the mini split, which is the air conditioning system. This is a 30 amp electrical system, and the air conditioning, the mini split, actually uses about 15 of those amps. So there's only 5 amps left over in the system, which is really great because that's why we went with the propane, so there's no load on the system, and all of the lighting inside is actually LED lighting, so the demand is very low.
Welcome to the inside of our tiny house. In the design phase, we really wanted to accomplish a very bright and open space. We knew we were going to achieve that by having windows on both sides. And also to really just have that general feel of that openness, we really wanted to go as max height as possible. So from the floor to the ceiling, it's actually 11 feet. Another way that we really wanted to add a lot more warmth to the space is having our cubic mini stove. This stove can heat about 200 to 230 square feet of space. It's great for heating the tiny house. We also have our mini split heater, and that produces more of like a consistent heat when we just needed it day to day. But this, even though it can heat our space, it's more for the ambience and the feel of the space. So if we wanted to just make a nice fire, sit on the couch, just enjoy each other's company, I mean, that was the reason why we chose this feature in our house. And this was also Greg's must-have item. He was like, well, if I'm gonna build this tiny house, I want my fireplace in the house. So we have a picture of Greg's dad here, and it's really symbolic to us because we really feel that this tiny house wouldn't have ever happened if it wasn't for Greg's dad's contribution to the tiny house build. He's a big part of this, and we feel like wherever we go, he's with us, and we know that even though he didn't see the final build, we know that he would have been incredibly proud and knew that we were going to be really, really safe on the road. As you come into the kitchen, something that was really important to us was having lots of counter space. The reason we chose butcher block is because it does bring a lot of warmness to the space. Now, butcher block is known to be a little bit heavy. You may be thinking, okay, well, you're traveling in your tiny house, isn't this going to add a lot of weight? And the answer is yes, but we were pretty sure this is what we wanted. So we just focused on a thinner cubby and then did more shelves in this area. So that helped compensate for the weight of the butcher block. Coffee station was really important, so we wanted to give enough space to our coffee. We also have the Berkey. We were going through a lot of different camping spots, so having clean water all the time, super important. Now, this is actually not a washer-dryer combo. Why not just get a washer? We don't really need a dryer. Whenever we were on the road, we would hang a line from the top bar to the top of the AC unit, and then sometimes open up the windows, get a lot of cross breeze. And when we were at places that we could hang a line outside and it wasn't gonna be too much of an eyesore, we would also dry our clothes there. We actually have an apartment size fridge. This is great for our family of 3. I think you could get by with a family of 4, perfect size. And then we go up here, and this is a convection oven, which is perfect, and it just really just fills all our needs. Then we go over to this side of the kitchen, where I have just a 2-burner gas stove. Absolutely love this thing. I only need 2 burners, so it's just perfect. My sink was actually more important, to have a very large, deep sink. Also, because I don't have a ton of storage for dishware, utensils, I really wanted to get things on the wall. Greg pretty much let me have my say with the kitchen because I do all the cooking, so I wanted to make sure that, you know, the finishes were exactly what I was looking for. So as we open up here, we have these 3 pull-out drawers. And also, if you're wondering, you can't see it, but our tank reservoir is actually in this section. So our water tank reservoir is 40 gallons. On the road, that tank would at least give us about 3 to 4 days of general water usage for a family of 3. A must-have thing for me. Everything else could go, but I had to have one thing, and it was a pull-out pantry. And I'm honestly really, really happy with how this turned out, and it held up incredibly well when we were traveling on the road. Something though that I did have to do is when we were on the road, I have 2 latches up here. So whenever we traveled, I would latch them and then secure it. And then I would also put a bungee, because that would be an absolute disaster if this thing popped open and then all my nicely organized food, oh my gosh, it would have just been a pain to clean up. So I had to make sure this stayed solid. Let's take you into the bathroom. It's kind of funny sometimes because this bathroom actually, at multiple times a day, Greg, myself, and Taylor will all be in this bathroom. And I'm like, I can't believe like we can all fit in here. Never would have planned that out. I really, really wanted this vanity. I was really particular about it, simply because I wanted a lot of storage. Especially when we're on the road, I couldn't have a lot of just like shelves and boxes. Something I would change though, now that we're not traveling as much with our tiny house, is now I would do shelves. That's something that I would change, and I definitely see this area being upgraded in our future. We have the composting toilet. Super great on the road. It gave us the ability to pretty much park wherever we wanted to park and not have to have a sewer hookup. So the size of this shower is 4 feet by 3 feet wide. It was important to us to have this entire section, the entire shower, because Greg is 6'3". He wanted to be able to move around. It doesn't feel like you're in this incredibly like closed space, because as you see here, like my head fits fine, but Greg's head, like he has to literally tilt this thing back to be able to comfortably take a shower. So incredibly important that we made this entire wall an entire walk-in shower. So since our tiny house is meant to be mobile, we didn't want to do tile and grout. For one, it's incredibly heavy, and 2, tiles moving around, the grout would have started to crack. It just wouldn't have been a wise decision, but I still love the look of subway tile. So what we did instead is we did this. This is actually like a tile board. This is incredibly lightweight, and it's really held up very well. We just did the caulking around the edges, but it's been great and it's held up. So welcome to the living room. This space is probably one of my favorite spaces in the house. There's glass on all sides. So naturally, wherever we parked when we were traveling, we literally almost had 360 views. This is also Lady Belle's favorite spot. And honestly, it was a part of the decision of why we decided to put a sliding glass door, because we also want her to enjoy her space as well. And I think that she likes the space because she can see out as well. So over here, this is where I primarily do my work. We have the media setup. If I also need a dual monitor for my laptop or working, I can connect it here, so it's a good spot for this.
We design websites that don't suck for independent financial advisors. So part of our job is to figure out how to make financial advisors interesting and make sure that the information that we convey towards their prospective clients is such that their values are conveyed You know, they let them know that they're in the right place before they go somewhere else. So that's what we do. She's the designer, I'm the marketer, and I do a lot of the sales and the client relationships. So we work fully remotely. It's perfect for our lifestyle and our living situation.
We have our gaming section for Greg and the little one, and occasionally I play, but they play way more together. So this was an important thing for us to have in our tiny house because this serves as our closet. We wanted to make sure that we could have just an area to hang our clothes. These drawers are where we keep our clothes. So we have 2 drawers for Greg, 2 drawers for me, and then Taylor's clothes are actually upstairs. 3 of these stairs actually pop open for extra storage for more of like our electronics, some office stuff. Let's head upstairs and I'll show you the bedroom/office. So welcome to our loft, which serves as our bedroom and office. We wanted to have a space where private from the rest of the house, so we wanted to create this headboard, and on each side Greg and I both wanted like individual ports, so he can charge his devices on one side and then I can charge mine on the other side. Also, when we were traveling and our daughter was a little bit little, a point that a lot of people brought to us was like, oh my gosh, safety, like your daughter's in this loft, right? Can she fall down the stairs? So we installed this gate, and what it did is it prevented her from falling, and then we just taught her over time to, you know, don't to lean on this or anything, but this is really, it kept her safe the entire time. So she doesn't need much anymore, but when we were traveling this was really great to have. So this bed is actually a queen size bed and it fits nicely within this space. We wanted to be able to have walking room around the side and the back side as well, and so this bed is great. Another thing that we measured out in the design is we really wanted to place the skylight right where our heads would be. So in the event, you know, we were out west, we want to be able to see some stars. It's been great. We really just love the amount of light. All right, so let's head on over to the other side to the office. We want to make sure that you could sit here and not have your head touch the ceiling. This loft is 4 feet high. Overall, it's really, really comfortable. We call this the private office. So if you need a little bit more extra space, you want to kind of be isolated from what's happening downstairs, this gives you the ability to have that space. A key feature that we wanted to achieve is we want to be able to sit down like you're sitting in a regular chair. And so what we did is we actually did a 2-foot drop below so that you can put your feet down below and work at the desk. You feel like you're in, you know, in a regular size room. That was really important. This desk is actually on a piano hinge. So when our daughter was younger, we can actually hinge this down if we wanted to. And then she actually originally had a bed down here, which is where she slept. This could also be an additional storage area if we need extra storage. The right and the left of me, this is now Taylor's activity center. And then on the left here, Greg has a lot of his books. Life for us, since going tiny, has really given us just the freedom and flexibility, more options, less burden, we feel like.
For us, the trade-off of having a smaller space with less monthly costs coming out meant that we could put more resources into doing things that were more important. Instead of owning stuff, we wanted to have experiences.
If we feel like going and traveling for a little bit, we can do that. We actually just reached our 7th continent. So yes, we went to the ice continent, to Antarctica. We were able to accomplish that goal in 5 years. And it's because of this house is why we're able to do that.
You actually realize you don't need as much as you think you did to be happy. I'm deeply grateful for it. It ended up being a big blessing to be in this space.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you soon with another unique home tour.